This is the Christian Existence Interview Project. My name is Ryan. This is my mom, Maria, who's a doctor from Queens, New York. And this is my dad, Chris, who's a real estate developer from Huntington. How long have you two been married?
We've been married 25 years, and it will be 26 years on September 14th, 2022.
How old were you when you met each other?
I was 25.
And I was slightly older. I was 27, turning 28.
Where did you meet?
We met on the beach in Long Beach, New York. Chris was surfing, and I was studying for exams.
Maria's brother owned a condo in the building where I was renting an apartment, so Maria would come down and use the condo and the beach, and I would see her on the beach whenever I went surfing.
How long did you know each other before you got married?
We dated for quite some time. We met, as we said, in 1991. We didn't get married until 1996, so it was a total of 5 years.
So how old were you when you got married?
Well, I was 30.
And I was 33.
How does the reality of marriage compare to your expectations of what marriage would be?
I don't think I had a lot of pre-existing thoughts or expectations about marriage before we got married. I think we just knew we wanted to get married and planned it, and that's how it went.
I feel the same way, although I thought that marriage was a lot easier than what it has been, although it's been a wonderful life together. There are different challenges that we didn't anticipate having prior to being married, but it's well worth it.
How do children affect marriage?
I think children bring a wonderful part into the marriage. They bring joy. You get to actually see your own childhood again through your child. It also brings a sense of commitment to the marriage, because we are not just working together for us, but we're working together for the family and the child. And we're very blessed to have our boy, Ryan.
So how important would you say money is when it comes to marriage?
Money is important especially in New York, because it's very expensive here. But I don't think we focused on money as part of the marriage or early on. I don't think we both had careers that we were working on, and we sort of pooled resources and didn't give it too much thought. We were fortunate to be in fairly good careers, so for us, money wasn't too much of an issue.
And I'll agree with that. Money was not an issue, and we never really looked at money as very important.
How important would you say similar values and religion are in a marriage?
I believe that similar values and religion are very important. I don't think a marriage can work if you don't have similar values. In the beginning, it may be okay, but as the marriage goes on and exists for a longer period of time, those things are very important. And religion, of course, for me, is a very important part of my life, and having someone who has the same religious beliefs as I do was extremely important.
What about similar cultural background?
So for us, we had somewhat similar cultural backgrounds. Maria's Italian, so her family was a really important part of her life, and that sort of was a little bit closer of a family than and extended relatives and all those than I was coming up with. So it was a nice mix, a nice change for me to see that side of things. So even though we didn't really start out in the same place, we sort of got there.
What about educational background or age differential when it comes to a marriage?
Age differential was not important for us. As we've said, I was slightly older than Chris, but educational background, I believe, is important. You do want to have someone who understands your career as well as you understanding their career. If someone is a professional, a lot of times if the other person is not a professional, they don't understand the dedication and the time that you have to put into your job. So it is very important, I believe.
I would agree.
Okay. What advice would you give to teenagers who are dating and are thinking about getting married?
I would say to a teenager who was thinking about getting married to wait until they're old enough to know who they are and to have a sense of who they are before they become involved in a relationship or even a marriage, especially a marriage, because there's so much growing that you need to do within yourself before you can actually give yourself to a partner and into a marriage. So I would say to wait until you are fully mature and have already developed a sense of who you are.
I would agree with that. And in our case, we both had careers. Maria had a lot of education, medical school, residency. There was a lot of things that she needed to focus on that I think needed to happen before she could think about marriage. And I was starting a career in real estate development, and had a lot of requirements for time and energy. And I think once we got those things set up, we were at a point where we were ready to get married. I think if you're focusing on all of those other things and trying to get ready for marriage, it might be tough.
What age do you think is realistically too young to get married?
I think below the age of 21 is probably way too young to get married. I would say mid-20s is still a little young. Closer to late 20s, early 30s, I believe, is the best time to get married. That way you have plenty of time to have children, and you have a long life together, hopefully.
What advice would you give to a young married couple that is experiencing marital difficulties and is thinking about divorce?
To a young couple who was experiencing marital difficulties, I would say that marriage is definitely not an easy process. It is something that needs to be worked at daily. You're going to have many, many good times, hopefully, but you may have some struggles, and it's not, you shouldn't just give up on the marriage just because of a couple of difficulties. You need to work at it. You need to communicate. You need to talk things through. You need to see the other person's side of the story, but you really need to work at it. And I would say to seek counseling, to maybe speak to some older married couples or some friends who are happily married or who you believe are role models for you. And I believe that you just need to take the time before you jump into a divorce.
What would you say is the key to a happy marriage?
I think communication is probably something that's important, but is sometimes forgotten, and we get in our own little bubble, and we forget that there's another person there that we could talk to. And I think that keeping those lines of communication open so you can say what's on your mind and also find out what's on your spouse's mind. I think that's something that is really important.
I would agree. Communication is the main the main goal for marriage and for a successful marriage, and also validating the other person's feelings, knowing that this is a two-sided relationship, and that no one can always be right. You have to feel what the other person is feeling, or listen to what the other person is saying, so that you can try to work things out and communicate through whatever issues you may have. But communication is definitely the key, I think, to a happy marriage.
Okay, and then the last question is going to be, do you think that a couple should live together before getting married, and why or why not?
I personally do not believe in living together before marriage. That comes from my strong Catholic upbringing. I believe that when you get married, you're starting your life together new, and I don't believe in living together before marriage.
I don't have such a strong belief about that, and I think it's okay to try out the living situation beforehand, because you really get to know someone once you're living with them, and you might discover good things and not so good things once you're in a living environment, and so for me, I don't see a clear line where you can't do that. I think it might help.
Okay, well, thank you for watching. Thank you for volunteering your time to help me with this. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ryan.
And
You're welcome.
yeah.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.